market is in a positive momentum period where Bitcoin's price is rising and the 10-day moving average is above the 20, they'll be in Bitcoin. And
Mhm.
otherwise, they'll be in treasuries if the market is falling. I would just say, momentum is the most established factor in all asset classes, in stocks, in bonds, in real estate, in commodities, and indeed in crypto. There's a big academic literature on that. And so we're just trying to offer a new strategy that captures that momentum aspect for people who are worried about those big pullbacks in crypto, which, quite honestly, is a lot of us. So I
Mhm.
think this idea is to rotate out when the markets are in that position.
It'll be interesting to see this because we see it a lot in the crypto investors that watch our shows. They have kind of that built into their portfolio right now. So it'll be good to see structured capital kind of coming into this range. I want to hit on the point of the news this week, of course, just yesterday, I believe it was, you guys going into officially filing for an XRP ETF, more around just the topic of why XRP as the next ETF, because many people are looking at all kinds of different assets, especially in the digital. And you look at just the news that has been going on with Ripple and XRP beyond the SEC, scenario, really what they've done from a technology standpoint, but also from a strategy standpoint, a lot of things happening right now. So that's a big kudo for them.
I think that's right. And I think people overlook that. They forget that these established platforms have very smart business development people that are working every day to find new applications. And whether you're talking about, rolling out stable coins or partnership with leading financial firms, there is a lot to point to on the business development side in terms of what's going on in the XRP or Ripple community. And I think maybe it doesn't get fully reported. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we report on it quite a bit. There has been just a slew of news coming out prior to the Swell event. I imagine there will be a lot of announcements next week, I think it is, when XRP and Ripple are here in Miami talking about the next step for them, including stablecoins, all sorts of things that are happening. I was looking at the Bitwise website here, and I was looking at some of the weighted investments that you guys have in the holdings. And Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, most of these are expected, but XRP holding in right there at one thing the investors kind of doing.
I think that's exactly right. The funny thing about crypto is it's one of the only markets where people are still primarily focused on single exposures. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at the equity market or you look at the bond market, no one's buying one stock. They're buying a basket of stocks. No one's buying one bond. They're buying an ETF of bonds. Our view is that the same is going to be true in the crypto market. As you move from primarily retail to primary institutional capital, they're going to want diversified exposure. That's the way institutions invest. That's what they're taught in school. That's what they're taught in their careers. And that's a dominant paradigm. So I think you're going to see more of these diversified exposures, more of people wanting to make a bet on crypto and not make a bet on, Bitcoin individually or Ethereum individually. Let's just make a bet that crypto and public blockchains are going to be more important in 10 years than they are today. That's a bet I have very high confidence in. And the way you
Yeah.
would express that is a diversified portfolio.
Well, that's, it's kind of the mantra of our channel. We talk so much we talk Bitcoin. We'll get into a lot of the blue chip altcoins. We get into the Web3 gaming space quite a bit, mainly because that very point is the diversity of not only the asset class, but also the potential opportunity within all these sectors to grow based on all sorts of variations. I mean, you've got things from
dollars without regulatory clarity. If you listen to Congress, the thing they agree on most in crypto on the Democrat and Republican side of the aisle is stablecoin legislation. I think the U.S. wants stablecoins. It's a way to export the dollar. It's a way to sell more treasury debt. It's a way to improve finance. Big finance wants to get into stablecoins. They're looking at Tether making more money than Goldman Sachs and saying, hold on, we want a piece of this pie. So if you have Wall Street, crypto, and Congress all aligned, I have a very high confidence that we're going to see breakthrough stablecoin legislation early in the new congressional season. And if we do that, I think it's Katie bar the door. I think it's Bank of New York. I think it's JP Morgan. I think it's Visa. I think it's every major. And so I think $1 trillion in 2 years is probably conservative.
Conservative,
right?
Yeah.
there's $10 trillion in money market funds.
Mhm.
Stablecoins are going to be a better version of that. There's so much dollar deposit. And that's just in the US. You go globally and you can access dollars. I think $1 trillion is easy. So I would take the pro side of that poly market if it opened and if the regulators let me invest in poly market. Substitutes for trust. And so you can see new entities gain scale really fast. And yeah, I think you could see a flippening in the stablecoin space. Look, I don't think Tether is going away. Incredible business, incredible
Sure.
footprint, particularly overseas. But do I think USDC will gain share? Yes. Do I think regulated stablecoins will become the dominant player? Yes. Is there a history in the crypto market of seeing that shift from unregulated venues to regulated venues? Absolutely. Look at where trading takes place, right? So I think we're going to see that same migration in the stablecoin space. I'm very bullish on Circle and on its competitors on the more regulated side of stablecoins.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot of things happening with PayPal, of course, with their own stablecoin. You've got, of course, Ripple coming into the game. It looks like we'll get that announcement soon. And then you think about just the strategies of, we haven't even seen the banks really come into this yet. So it's very possible we could see some real moves there. So I would agree with you that there's going to be a large influx. And to your point, it's kind of the killer app of where blockchain is going. Speaking of that, killer apps, we always cover the gaming space, the innovation in Web3, what we're seeing in real world assets. A lot of it's happening over.
Right point. You're like 6 to 12 months ahead of where the market and the media coverage is, because you're starting to see traction, but people are stuck on the old narrative
Yeah.
that Web3 gaming was a bust. And that's just not what the data increasingly suggests.
Well, and what we do here, we dive into the tech quite a bit. That's really the background of our channel. And most of it, when you look at what the strategies are taking place in Silicon Valley, whether that's Microsoft, Meta to a certain extent, and even if you take a look at Sony and what they've been able to do in a short period of time, a lot of blockchain involvement. Even here recently, we've had Off the Grid start to launch now on Xbox, one of the first marketplaces that we've seen that actually show an opportunity for Web3 gaming in traditional Web2 outlets, especially around some of these big markets. And if you see what Meta's doing in terms of AR, VR, and XR, it's just a natural evolution that I think is just going to take place. So I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're in that early stage. It's much like 1996 of the internet era when I was a young engineer working at Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought we were going to see, what we saw, of course, in 1999 and then 2000, but it's definitely happening. So much so where crypto is going in both those. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be an interesting one for sure. A couple of last questions for you. One, I want to talk a little bit about yield generation. And if you think about yield generation, especially on a fund that would be on chain, similar to what BlackRock has been able to do with Securitize, what's the likelihood of Bitwise doing something like that?
Yes, it's a great question. Without giving away our product roadmap to all my fun competitors out there who I love, I will say that on-chain solutions is something that we're looking at very deeply at Bitwise. You're seeing that market grow in a substantial format, mostly with traditional finance players coming in. We think there is space for more crypto native firms that can bridge those two to fill that role. So short of just telling you exactly what we plan to do, the short answer is yes. I think that market is right at a major growth point, and Bitwise wants to be a player in both traditional financial products and on-chain financial products. And I think you'll see us do some of that in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the appetite is there from the investment community. So it just seems like a natural evolution going forward. Last point is legislation, policies. We've kind of sprinkled it through here. We've got a stablecoin bill coming through.
That will continue, but that is the trend. Those are real facts, real things that happen that all point in a very positive direction. And I think if we can use the November election as a reason to turn the page, we get a very fundamentally different outlook in the year ahead.
Well, listen, if you're in crypto, we always are looking out for these rug pulls. And sometimes I look at something in the legislative front, I think, oh, it's feeling too good right now. I'm worried. It's like the minute you think something's going to happen. Do you feel like either way, whatever way the election falls, that we potentially have an opportunity here?
Yeah, a little Charlie Brown attitude on that. But yeah, I definitely think, look, I do think it's moving in a positive direction. There will be differences and there are things to worry about. In the stablecoin bill, is there a pathway to allow interest accrual on stablecoins? Is it separate just for the big banks, or can smaller players innovate in that space? There is, of course, differences in degree, but I
Hmm.
think it is from, like freezing to decent or
Okay.
freezing to warm. I think that's the question. Is it decent or is it warm? And either way, it's better than what we have today. But there are certainly things to look out for.